You ever have one of those mornings where you wake up, stretch, make your way to the kitchen, and just feel a little off? Maybe your coffee doesn't taste quite right, or your arm feels heavier than usual, or the words in your head come out a little jumbled when you try to speak. At our age, those little things can sometimes be easy to shrug off. I just didn't sleep well, we tell ourselves. Or maybe I skipped breakfast too long. But sometimes, those small things are actually your body whispering a warning. Now I don't say this to scare you, but to empower you. Because when it comes to stroke, time is everything. And knowing what to watch for, really knowing it, can make all the difference in the world. Not just for yourself, but for your spouse, your neighbor, your church friend, even that kind old man who bags your groceries every week. We're all in this together. You see, a stroke can sneak up fast, and it doesn't always come with fireworks and drama. Sometimes it tiptoes in, quiet and subtle, and if we don't catch it early, it can steal away things we hold dear: our speech, our strength, our independence. But the good news? There are signs, and if we learn to notice them early, we can act fast, get help, and come out stronger on the other side. Let me tell you about a friend of mine, Martha. She's 72, sharp as a tack, still loves her garden and walks her dog every morning. One day, she said her right hand felt funny. Not painful, not numb exactly, just odd. She figured maybe she'd just slept on it wrong. But when her words started to slur a bit at lunch, her daughter noticed right away and called for help. Martha was having a stroke. Because they caught it early, she got the care she needed quickly, and she's back to her garden now, just as fiery as ever. That's why we're having this talk. Because I want you to be ready. And it starts with knowing the signs. Now, one of the most common early signs is sudden trouble speaking or understanding speech. You're trying to say something simple like, "I need a glass of water," but the words just won't come out right. Or maybe someone's talking to you, and it sounds like they're speaking in slow motion or a different language altogether. It might pass in a few minutes, or it might hang around, but either way, that's not something to ignore. That's your brain telling you something's wrong. Another sign that catches folks off guard is a sudden weakness or numbness, usually on one side of the body. Your arm, your leg, or your face might feel droopy or sluggish. Sometimes people try to lift both arms and notice one just won't stay up. That's not just tired muscles. That's a red flag waving loud and clear. My Uncle Joe, bless him, was brushing his teeth one morning when the toothbrush slipped right out of his hand. He laughed it off, but my aunt didn't. She called the doctor, and sure enough, he was having a mini stroke. That quick thinking made all the difference. And here's another one you might not expect: trouble seeing. It might come on fast, like a curtain coming down over one eye, or just a sudden blur or double vision. You might think it's your glasses or just some dust in your eye, but if it's sudden and strange, it's worth taking seriously. Your vision is closely tied to your brain's health, and any sudden change can be your body's early cry for help. Now I know, all this might sound a little heavy, but it's not meant to weigh you down. It's meant to lift you up with the power of knowledge. Because once you know these signs, you're not helpless, you're ready. You can act. You can make that call. You can save a life, maybe even your own. And you don't have to do it alone. That's the beauty of growing older. We've got each other. We've got stories, experience, and wisdom. We've seen a lot, and we've survived a lot. And that makes us stronger, not weaker. So let's keep going. There's more your body might be trying to tell you, and the more we listen, the better off we'll be. Another thing you might notice, and this one surprises a lot of folks, is sudden dizziness or loss of balance. One minute you're walking to the mailbox or reaching for a can in the cupboard, and the next, it feels like the floor shifted beneath you. Maybe your legs feel wobbly, or you grab onto a chair to steady yourself. Now, sure, sometimes it's just a little blood sugar dip or you got up too fast. But if that unsteadiness comes out of nowhere, especially if it's paired with trouble walking or coordination, don't brush it off. That's another potential stroke sign. I remember this gentleman from our church, Mr. Aluko, a tall, sturdy fellow who hardly ever sat still. One Sunday, right before service, he told me he felt a bit floaty, like he wasn't quite anchored to the ground. His speech was fine, but he leaned into me like the earth had tilted. We got him to the hospital, and guess what? He was having a small stroke that affected the part of his brain responsible for balance. Thankfully, he got quick treatment and avoided any serious damage. But it could have gone differently if he'd ignored it or tried to tough it out. You know, that's something I want to pause on for just a moment. This idea that we have to be tough all the time, especially those of us in this season of life. We grew up in a generation that prided itself on being strong, not complaining, and pushing through. We didn't run to the doctor for every little thing. And I get it. I really do. But when it comes to a stroke, toughing it out can cost you everything. What saves lives now isn't just grit, it's wisdom. The wisdom to know when something's not right, and the courage to speak up about it. Another subtle warning sign people don't always recognize is a sudden, severe headache. One that hits like a thunderclap and feels different from your usual headaches. I'm not talking about that dull ache from skipping your afternoon coffee. I mean a sharp, sudden pain that stops you in your tracks. Some folks describe it as the worst headache of their lives. And for good reason. That kind of pain could be a sign of bleeding in the brain, which is a type of stroke, too. One woman I met at a wellness event told me she'd had that kind of headache just before she collapsed in her kitchen. Her husband, who was thankfully nearby, said she'd winced and grabbed her head like she'd been struck by lightning. They got to the hospital in time, and she made it through, with some therapy and a whole lot of prayers. Now, she's an advocate for stroke awareness, always telling people, if your body shouts, don't whisper back. Sometimes the signs aren't dramatic. Sometimes they come in soft ways, like confusion. You're doing something you've done 100 times before, like writing a check or following a recipe, and suddenly, the steps just don't make sense. Or you forget how to get to a place you've visited for years. It can feel scary, like your brain has taken a little detour. And again, it might pass. But that kind of confusion, especially when it shows up all at once, is something to take seriously. And here's where it gets personal. When I was about 65, I had one of those moments myself. I was at the grocery store, holding my list in one hand, pushing the cart with the other. All of a sudden, I couldn't remember what aisle the bread was in. Not just that, I wasn't even sure what I'd come in for. It felt like a fog rolled over my brain. It lasted only a few minutes, but it shook me. Thankfully, it wasn't a stroke, but my doctor told me I did the right thing by coming in. Because with strokes, even a short episode like that can be a warning sign, a small stroke, or what they call a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. Think of it like your brain's dress rehearsal for a full-blown stroke. It's a chance, if you listen, to get help before the curtain rises. That moment taught me something. Pay attention to yourself. Not in a fearful way, but in a respectful way. Your body is always speaking, whispering, nudging, sometimes shouting, and the older we get, the more important it is to be a good listener. And just as importantly, we've got to look out for each other. If you notice your spouse slurring their words, or your neighbor fumbling with their keys, or a friend suddenly acting strange or off balance, don't hesitate. Ask them to smile. Ask them to raise both arms. Listen closely when they speak. And if something doesn't feel right, make that call. It's better to be wrong and safe than silent and sorry. We've walked too many miles in these shoes to ignore the road signs now. We've earned the right to be cautious, wise, and proactive. So don't let guilt or pride or fear hold you back from speaking up for yourself or someone else. Now, before we go on, I want you to take a deep breath. All this information can feel a bit heavy, I know, but it's also a gift. Because once you understand these signs, you're not just hoping for the best. You're ready to take action when it counts most. And there's more to this story, because stroke isn't the end of the road, not if you catch it early. The next things we're going to talk about will help you feel even more prepared and hopeful. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Most strokes don't come out of nowhere. Yes, they happen suddenly, but more often than not, the groundwork has been laid long before. And that's why awareness isn't just about spotting warning signs in the moment. It's also about recognizing the little things we can do to protect ourselves every day. Now, I'm not talking about turning into some kind of health fanatic overnight. No, we've earned our comfort foods and slow mornings. But even small steps can add up to big changes when it comes to preventing strokes. Like checking your blood pressure regularly. It's such a simple thing. Easy to do at the pharmacy or with a home monitor. And yet, high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for stroke. That means if we stay on top of it, we're already winning half the battle. I've got a neighbor, Mrs. Ideal. She's 68 and sharp as ever. Every Friday afternoon, she and her granddaughter go over her wellness chart, just a little notebook where she writes down her blood pressure readings, what she ate that week, and how much walking she did. Now, I don't think she's trying to impress anyone. She just decided that her health deserved as much attention as her garden. And you know what? She's thriving and smiling more than ever. Another powerful protector? Staying active. I know. When you hear exercise, you might picture a gym or fancy equipment. But let's keep it real. For many of us, staying active means a gentle walk around the block, dancing while you cook, or stretching your arms while watching your favorite show. The goal isn't to become a bodybuilder. It's to keep the blood flowing, keep the joints moving, and give your heart and brain the activity they need to stay healthy. Even 15 minutes a day can help reduce stroke risk. I like to say, motion is lotion. It keeps everything from rusting up. And more than that, it lifts your mood. There's something beautiful about taking a morning stroll and hearing the birds, or waving to a neighbor, or just soaking up a little sun. Those aren't just nice moments. They're medicine for the soul. But let's not stop there. Another thing we sometimes overlook is how much our everyday habits affect our brain health. Take what we eat, for example. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to toss out your stew or never enjoy jollof rice again. Food is love, it's memory, it's comfort. But what I will say is, adding in more veggies, drinking more water, and going a little easier on the salt. That's not about denying yourself. That's about giving your body a little help. I once switched from regular salt to a low-sodium version just to try it. At first, I thought I'd missed the taste. But after a week or so, I barely noticed the difference, and my doctor sure noticed the change in my blood pressure. It's those tiny shifts that matter. You don't have to flip your whole kitchen upside down. Just start where you are. And speaking of habits, let's talk about sleep. Yep, good old-fashioned rest. The kind we all swore we didn't need when we were younger, staying up too late and waking up too early. But now we know better. Your brain needs sleep like your body needs water. Without it, your blood pressure rises, your stress hormones increase, and your chances of stroke go up. So give yourself permission to rest. Not just physically, but mentally. Turn off the noise, breathe deeply, and let your body recharge. Now I can hear someone out there saying, "That's easy for you to say, but my sleep isn't what it used to be." And I get that. Truly, I do. Sleep changes as we age. But even if you can't get a perfect 8 hours, you can create habits that help, like winding down with soft music, cutting back on caffeine in the afternoon, or keeping a regular bedtime. It all adds up. And while we're being honest, I want to say this gently but clearly, stress matters. Emotional stress, constant worry, loneliness, they all put pressure on the heart and the brain. If something's been weighing on you, talk about it. Call a friend, pray, write it down, or simply sit with someone who'll listen. Sometimes, the most healing thing in the world is just knowing we're not alone. Because we're not. Look around. You've got people who care. And even if you feel isolated sometimes, you're part of a community that's been through so much and still keeps showing up. That's strength. And strength doesn't mean carrying it all alone. It means reaching out when you need to. You see, stroke isn't just a medical issue. It's a reminder. A reminder to pay attention to ourselves, to love ourselves enough to take action, and to make small changes that keep us here, alive, alert, and present. Because our stories aren't over. We've still got laughter to share, wisdom to pass on, and joy to feel. And that's what makes this so important. Not just spotting the signs, but honoring this life we've been given by doing what we can every day to protect it. So let's keep going. We've covered the warning signs, the things to watch for, and the habits that help. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I want to share with you. Something I think every senior deserves to hear, loud and clear. Here's what I want you to remember, more than anything else I've said today. It's never too late to care for yourself. Never too late to learn something new. Never too late to take your health seriously and make choices that protect your body and your mind. A stroke can feel like a big, scary word. And yes, it is serious. but it doesn't mean the end of your independence or your joy or your purpose. In fact, knowing what to watch for and how to respond can give you back a sense of control. It turns worry into wisdom. It gives you power over fear. And if you've already been through a stroke or a TIA, or if someone close to you has, then you know exactly what I mean. Recovery might take time. It might not be easy, but healing does happen. And life, rich and meaningful life, continues. I've seen friends and neighbors come back stronger, more focused, more grateful. I've seen couples grow closer, families become more intentional, and individuals discover strength they didn't know they had. That's the kind of resilience that comes with age, with experience, with living. I'll never forget my cousin Deo. He had a stroke at 70. For a while, he couldn't move the left side of his body well. He was frustrated. He'd always been the one fixing things around the house, always in motion. But with therapy, encouragement, and a whole lot of stubbornness, he came back. Not just physically, mentally, emotionally. He started writing down family stories, things none of us knew about. He'd sit on the porch and tell them to the grandkids. His hands weren't as quick as before, but his words? They were gold. And that's the thing. Even if a stroke slows you down, it doesn't erase who you are. You're still you, still wise, still valuable, still needed. So if you take anything from this conversation, let it be this. Listen to your body. Honor what it tells you. Know the signs: a sudden change in speech, weakness on one side, confusion, dizziness, vision trouble, or a severe headache. Don't second guess it. Don't wait for it to go away. Act fast. Call for help. The sooner you do, the more of your life you can hold on to. And while you're at it, take those little steps each day to keep your brain and heart healthy. Eat well, move a little, rest fully, and stay connected. Talk to someone you trust. Laugh, pray, dance in your kitchen if the spirit moves you. Your health isn't just in pills and doctor visits. It's in joy, connection, and love. And please, share what you've learned. If you've got adult children, talk to them. If you've got neighbors or friends your age, pass it along. Stroke education isn't just for you. It's for everyone you love. You never know whose life you might help save just by speaking up. If this video touched you in some way, if it reminded you of something you'd forgotten or taught you something new, do me a small favor. Leave a comment below. Share a story. Ask a question. And if you haven't already, tap that like button and subscribe so we can keep walking this journey together. Because that's what Moments with Elders is all about. It's not just about health tips or facts. It's about connection. It's about making sure none of us feel alone, especially when life gets challenging. We've all got wisdom to share, and we've all got more living to do. So keep going, my friend. Keep watching for the signs. Keep looking out for yourself and for the ones you love. Because you're not just growing older, you're growing stronger. And you're never too old to feel young again. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.